Gentlemen, welcome in, welcome back. I am your Kuya, Michael V. Thanks for coming back and enjoying the channel. If you like what we're doing, why don't you give me one of these? And if you've got some comments or you've got some suggestions about other topics to cover, go ahead and hit a comment below. We're covering the 4 dimensions of the modern male. We've already covered fitness and health. There will be a lot more videos on fitness and health coming up in the future. That's a huge topic, and like I said, it's the most important topic because it's the one you have the most influence over. So if you haven't seen that video, hop back and watch that one. If you haven't seen the introductory video, talks about what the 4 dimensions are of the 4-dimensional male. And today we're going to talk about finances. Now, here's a question for you fellas. How are your finances? How are they? Do you have $1,000 saved as an emergency fund? Minimum. This is like the minimum amount that you need to have saved for any type of emergency to keep you from digging yourself into a hole every time something comes up. I want to say it was about, at this point, maybe 17 or 18 years ago when I started to get on this journey of getting my finances in order. Maybe it was 20 years now. I did not have an emergency fund, so that was the first thing that I did. I was like scraped, I sold a bunch of stuff. I had a couple guitars and some other things. I sold them all and I put together $1,000. And I tell you what, over and over again, unexpected expenses would pop up. Something happened with the car, $800, boom, can cover it with that. Something happened with the plumbing at the house that I was owning at the time, boom, taking care of that. So the first thing that you need to do around finances is scrape together some kind of savings. You have to have a cushion because life happens, emergencies happen, and you're gonna start digging yourself a hole if you don't have that buffer to begin with. So let's start with that. So before you start thinking that, well, no, actually my problem, Michael, is that I need to make more money. No, your problem is you're not managing the money that you have right now. And when you get more money, because I've also done this, you just make mistakes with more zeros behind it. So you need to get your game in order now around your finances. And I wish they taught this in schools. I wish this was something that they taught and emphasized more because it's something that's so important and that a lot of us don't understand. Because most of you that are watching this do not understand how money works. You don't understand where your paycheck is going. You don't have any money saved. The majority of Americans do not have $1,000 saved. So why don't you be a high-level man, get yourself some savings going, and then we can start to talk about what the plan is to move out and to move up that financial ladder. The second part of that moving up and moving out, once you get that money saved, is looking at your career. Do you have a career or are you just working at a job? If you're a young man and you haven't figured it out yet, I encourage you to go and experiment. Go and do a lot of things. When you're young, you should be failing a lot. You should be trying a lot of jobs. You should be trying to figure out what you're good at and how you can make some money either on your primary gig or like on a side gig. But going out and trying a lot of things is essential. But if you're somewhere in your 30s and you still don't feel fulfilled, you're still not making the kind of money that you want to, the questions that I'm going to ask you are, number one, what have you done to change the situation that you're in? So many of you guys, and so many guys that I've talked to, they're stuck in a job that they don't like, they're not making enough money, and they still have done nothing about it. You can't sit there and languish in a job that you don't like, not try to do anything to improve your skills, not go and search for a job, and then be upset every day when nothing ever happens and someone doesn't just throw a job into your lap. The most difficult job that you will ever have is looking for a job. I've done it a lot. Especially now in the modern workplace, you move around a lot. I'm in sales, so salespeople move around a lot. The most difficult job is searching for a job. And the most difficult job is searching for a job when you don't have a job. Because then you have the stink of desperation on you. And if you don't know what that stink is, some of you have that in dating. So you've seen that too. Girls can smell it a mile away. I've hired people before, you can see it when they come in. There's an air of desperation and you're nervous, you lack confidence. So if you're in a position where you don't like the job that you have, you can't just quit and move on and then try to find something else. Like that's part of my advice is that no, you've got to actually come up with a plan, sit down, work on your resume, get some training, And maybe you just have to grit it out in a job that you don't like. I've done that for a couple of years too. I worked at Microsoft for a while. That was a terrible place to work. Absolutely horrible in my experience. Some of you may have had a different experience. But I was there when Steve Ballmer was still the CEO, and the classic stack ranking, as they called it, meaning that the bottom 10 or 15% of people every year were let go. And so there was a lot of infighting, a lot of fighting for people, fiefdoms, but trying to keep your little kingdom intact. So there was just a lot of infighting, and the culture there was just terrible. But I stuck it out because I knew that having Microsoft on my resume for like a 2-year stint would pay dividends down the line, and it has, absolutely. If you are in a job that you don't like, you need to take action. You're the only person that's going to change that. So you can show up every day and you can cry and complain about it, but if you're not doing anything to change it, then it's not going to change. Because no one's coming to save you. The job fairy isn't coming to drop off a job at your door. No one's lobbing an email into your inbox telling you, hey, join my LinkedIn and check out this job. So you've got to do the work. The other thing that you need to look at is, what career field are you in? Where is the money that you want to make? Do you want to make 6 figures plus? That is a small percentage of people, by the way. It's amazing that people don't understand. 6 figures is top 15% of earners in the United States make 6 figures. So that means the vast, vast, vast majority of people do not make that kind of money. So it is good to aspire to that. You should aspire to that, but you also need to know what career fields allow you the opportunity, or the most opportunity, to make that type of money. And the reason I bring that up is because there's this, I don't know if call it a fallacy. There's this pervasiveness right now in culture where people think that high income men just grow on trees, that there's a bunch of them around, that everyone's making $500,000, which again is, now we're getting into like the less than 1% of people in the United States. So yeah, it's crazy. So take a look at your job. Are you happy where you're at? If you're not, what are you doing to change that, right? Because it's up to you. It really is. And if you need some advice on kind of what careers and what you need to do, you can hit me up in the DMs and I can talk to you more about what that looks like and what that looked like for me. I parlayed some experience in the military into working in IT and then working into sales. But if that's not your path, we got to figure out where those places are and where those pockets are that kind of money is available. And the last thing I want to talk about when we're talking about job, when we're talking about career, is I hear a lot of coaches talking about finding your purpose. And that's kind of a vague term. I feel like it's what does it mean to find your purpose, right? Is it something that you really love? Is that what it means to find your purpose? Because you can do something you really love and not make any money at it, and that's not going to work long term. What do they say? Like, love doesn't pay the bills. You can love your job, but if it ain't giving you the income that you want, and if you want to ascend and be one of those higher level men, then you've got to find a career that does pay you well, or you've got to start your own business that does pay you well. And so that's the point about purpose, is it's not just what do you love to do, because sometimes there's things that you're really good at that pay you a lot of money that you can do on the side while you're cultivating this side project that you love. So it's a little bit of a sacrifice, like I was just talking about when I went and worked at Microsoft and literally hated showing up to work every day. But I knew long term that the goal was to have that on the resume so that I could achieve the other types of positions and the type of salary that I wanted going forward. So to recap, guys, you've got to get an emergency fund in place. Start with $500 if you need to, but you've got to scrape up some cash, sell some of that bullshit that you've got around, and you need to have a cushion and something to fall back on. You will be so surprised, not only by the amount of things that pop up and that are now covered by this, but the peace of mind that it gives you. You can now finally relax. So you're not one of these people that's worried and living paycheck to paycheck to paycheck. You've got a little bit of buffer. Ultimately, what you want is like 3 to 6 or even a year's worth of emergency fund. And that's, what they call like the FU money. So if you want to take a year off, then you can do that. You can quit your job, especially if you've gotten to a position like where I am at, where, my skill set is in demand. So I actually do get those jobs lobbed into my inbox. And when you have that flexibility, you're more confident, you've got more options. So start with that small emergency fund. And then what we're gonna do is try to build that into something larger so that, you know, if a catastrophe happens, you don't have to worry about it. So you're less stressed, and then you can focus on other areas of your life, right? Career, what do you wanna do? What does it look like? I know that's a big, wide area that we'll cover in some more videos, but the purpose of this video is just kind of get you focused in on thinking about finances, thinking about where you're at career-wise, thinking about what you want in the future. So if you know what that is, you say, hey man, Michael, I want to make 6 figures. I want to be in that top 15% of men in the United States. Then let's do it, man. Let's do it. But it starts with you, and it starts with making a commitment. Hey, thanks for coming, checking me out again. I appreciate you guys so much. Again, give me a thumbs up if you like it. I'll talk to you soon.